Merħba fil-programm Maltese DownUnder, magazin kulturali bi produzzjoni kollha kemmi mill-belt ta' Melbourne. Jiena Marlene Scicluna insellmilkom. Fil-programm tal-lum ser nitkellmu ma' disinjatur grafiku li infatti ħoloq il-logo għal-programm tagħna. Inlaqgħukom ukoll ma' awtriċi Awstraljana ta' nisel Malti li f'dawn il-jiem qed tniedi pubblikazzjoni oħra minn tagħha. U fl-aħħar nett naslu wasla sa' Malta u niltaqgħu mal-Assoċjazzjoni Maltija tal-Cricket. Iżda qabel xejn nibdew bl-ewwel istorja tagħna tal-lum fejn ser nlaqgħukom ma' Gorge Bajada, il-persuna li ddisinja il-logo tal-programm Maltese DownUnder. Our guest today is a very special guest. First of all, because he's the person who created the Maltese DownUnder TV logo. And second of all, because I have known Gorge, and his name is Gorge Bajada. I have known Gorge since the primary school days, so we go way back. Gorge, thank you so much for your time today and for being here with us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I mentioned the logo, and everyone's been saying how great the logo looks and that the colours remind them of the Mediterranean. So tell us more about how you came up with the logo.
Well, I got really excited, first of all, when you first told me, and so you have to have a bit of excitement in the mix. The brief was something to do with Malta, of course, because the target audience is the Maltese community. And we're thinking of Malta, sea, Mediterranean Sea, Malta surrounded by the sea, Daisa, Lutsu, and there it was. And the colourful, it's the colours of the Daisa, pretty much. Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, we go back to primary school, but then obviously you go to secondary school and then you sort of lose track of each other when you're not at school together anymore.
That's right.
So tell us, were you always interested in graphic design? Were you always artistic?
I always had that thing. I've been drawing since I was a kid. I was pretty good in technical drawings at school, at secondary school. Also, I've been doing some sketches in the old university in Valletta. And but I always had that drawing, but it didn't develop at early stages, early years of my life. It developed more when I came here in Australia.
Tell us more about your family's migration story and then your migration story.
Yeah. Well, my parents emigrated to Australia back in the 60s, in 1965. My big brother Joseph was 5 years old. And actually my mum was pregnant at the time when she was emigrating to Australia. Yes, I was born in Mentorville, New South Wales. 3 years old, my parents moved back to Malta. That was back in the 1971. And we took the ship back to Malta. Back then it was more popular than the
everyone did back then.
Yes. Yeah. I always wanted to come back to Australia. And when I was 19, I decided to come back. I packed my bags and came with $500. And I studied here. I studied technical drawing as a drafting at TAFE.
You migrated to Sydney?
To Sydney, that's right. I went to Sydney. And that's where I did my TAFE course in technical drawings. And back then, I wasn't sure whether if I'm going to live here or live in Malta. I had to make a decision. So I gave Malta another try. I went back to Malta working as an electrical draftsman. Lived there for 3 years, and I've realised that I had more opportunities here in Australia. And in '94, I moved back and I never looked back.
And as we said, you were in Sydney.
Yes, that's right.
So only recently you made the move to Melbourne. What brought you to Melbourne?
Oh, I always liked Melbourne, and every time I visit to Melbourne, there was always something that attracts me.
There is a vibe, isn't there?
There is lots more than a vibe.
Yeah.
And but at that time, I was in Sydney 20 years, and it never was the right time to move until I met Pete, and he had the same intentions, and we moved with our 2 cats, Zeus and Strudel.
I mean, being born here and then going to Malta and spending all those years in Malta and then coming back here and then trying to go back to Malta and then all of a sudden saying, no, Australia is the country which I choose. How do you consider yourself? Australian Maltese, Maltese Australian, Australian of Maltese background?
It's a hard decision to make, actually, because it's sort of like half and half, but I consider myself now more Australian because I lived on Australian land more than I have lived in Malta. So I'm happy to be, and I'm glad that I'm here in Australia. I'm happy when I go back to Malta and visit family, and I consider myself Australian Maltese.
La, il-bufti tal-Malti, għal-telespettaturi tagħna l-Maltin u xek. George, kif għadna morru lura għal żmien il-primarja. U dejjem niftakrek bħali dejjem f'attività kontinwa daqqa fuq il-palk u daqqa nkantaw u sfin minn kollox għamilna.
Dejjem.
X'timmissja? Naf li timmissja, lura Malta tbaqalek il-ġenituri tiegħek u l-familja kollha tiegħek, imma x'timmissja partikolarment mill-Gżejjer Maltin?
Very good question. L-aktar li nimmissja huwa il-Baħar Mediterran. Meta mmur Malta, il-Baħar Mediterran, it's unique, and il-familja, of course, and imma dejjem il-baħar dejjem jiġbidni lejn Malta.
U tħoss li jgħat forsi l-qoddim ħafna Maltin jażlu li jemigraw hawnhekk u jqattaw numru kbir ta' snin imbagħad meta jiġu sabiex jirtiraw imorru lura Malta. Tħoss li forsi għad xi darba jiġri dan ukoll?
Ħsibta ħafna
fuq dan. Biex nirtiraw.
Vera. Ħsibta fuq dan il-ħsib, ħsibt ħafna fuq u ġifieri, imma u dejjem kont naħseb illi dejjem ħaniltira Malta, imma għandi ħsieb ieħor illi l-Awstralja hawn postijiet ħafna fejn tista' tirtira, speċjalment Tasmania. And jiena naħseb hemmhekk ħajjirbaħni. Tajjeb,
ġifi minn Malta għal Sydney, minn Sydney għal Melbourne imbagħad Tasmania.
Eżatt.
Tajjeb ħafna. George, grazzi ħafna tal-ħin tiegħek illum, vera ħadd pjaċir narak wara tant snin u grazzi ħafna tal-logo li għamiltilna li wara kollox il-logo li ħoloq George tista' tgħid huwa l-immaġini li malli tiftħu l-programm tagħkom taraw meta taraw dik MDU Maltese DownUnder dik hija kreazzjoni ta' Gorge Bajada. So George, thank you so much for your time today.
Grazie ħafna.